Hello duelists, Tombox here.
And Nishi.
And it's that time of the year again.
We're here to go over our ban list prediction video for the July 2015 format.
Now just a heads up, we're not really sure when this ban list is going to take place. But when it does, this is the prediction that we're going to go with. So starting off with ban cards. I have on my list banned Jin, Releaser of Rituals, and the second card I've banned is Magical Explosion.
Yeah, I have two ban cards. The first one is also Jin, Releaser of Rituals, but my second ban card is Royal Magical Library.
Now for Jin, it's pretty obvious why we both have this. It's because Jinlock is pretty toxic and pretty cancerous in this game. It forces the game down to pretty much a luck sack kind of mentality where if I have the out, then I can get out of the Jinlock. If I don't, I lose the game. And that's not very fair to a lot of decks. And a lot of decks that aren't Nekroz that don't have enough outs to this suffer by going behind so many turns.
The other thing is that it forces a lot of decks to play suboptimal cards. A card like Book of Eclipse, like if you were to just read the card, you wouldn't think it's good, but because it's non-targeting removal of the Jinlock, it's actually worked its way into competitive play. And I mean, cards like Bullblader, Cameraclops, and Tackle Crusader have all seen their way into the top decks, but honestly, those cards are terrible.
Now, for Magical Explosion, this is for Chicken Race. Chicken Race FTK is a very consistent FTK deck, where you can pretty much just burn your opponent down to 3000 with the life equalizer, and then use Magical Explosion to finish them off. This deck is super consistent, almost at Frog FTK level, just my opinion, and I don't think Konami likes having FTK decks around, so most likely one of these cards will most likely get hit.
Yeah, the reason that I'm choosing to ban Royal Magical Library over Magical Explosion is that Royal Magical Library is actually a card that's used in a lot of other different FTK decks, not just in Chicken Race. There are a lot of Exodia decks, for example, that play the Golden and Broken Bamboo Swords that abuse Royal Magical Library. I think it's just a problem card that really needs to be out of the game.
Now for limited cards, I have, for cards going down to 1, I have Nekroz of Unicore, I have Shadoll Construct, and I also have Denko Sekka.
Yeah, I just have two cards that are newly limited. I have Nekroz of Unicore and Manju of the 10,000 Hands.
Now for Unicore, I think it's a pretty common assumption that Unicore allows for really fast opening plays with Kaleidoscope, which pretty much is a +1 when you play it. And then Unicore's effect to grab anything from the graveyard is really strong, super versatile, because you can get a Nekroz monster or a Nekroz spell. Just that fact means you can recycle your Bryo. So if the Bryo hit previously, doesn't matter as much because you can always recycle Bryo through Unicore. And that is just really too good.
Yeah, so I have Unicore limited, but I also have Manju of the 10,000 Hands limited. And I think that the fact that it's essentially a Stratos, in that it tutors either a ritual monster or a ritual spell, any one that you want from the deck, it's just a really, really, really good card. I think that with Manju limited, you'd be playing with 3 Senju and 1 Manju, and this is only 4 normal summons as opposed to 6. Personally, I'd really like to see some more creativity with Nekroz builds.
I agree.
Yeah, maybe with maybe they'll go back to playing Armageddon Knight, because recently they've been playing Reinforcements of the Army, or they could go into the Mathematician build with Glow Up Bulb, Farfa, and Shadoll Dragon. I just think that seeing different types of Nekroz builds would be a lot more interesting.
Yes. For me, I also have Shadoll Construct. Construct is very annoying in a sense that when you make him, he always dumps a card into the graveyard, potentially popping your back row or drawing a card using Shadoll Beast. And what's really noticeable is when they use Shadoll Fusion to dodge your traps to make a second construct. That's really annoying. Not only that, that's the most common form of an OTK that I see coming from Shadolls. So putting Construct to 1 will actually slow the deck down, force them to play differently, I hope. But that's just my opinion here.
Yeah, I have a couple Shadoll hits, but those are semi-limits, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit later on.
For my different card, I have Denko Sekka. I think most BA or Satellarknights would definitely agree with me here. Even Ritual Beasts, maybe Yosenjus will agree here too, is that Denko Sekka is one of the most powerful cards used against them in the sideboard. Once you summon Denko Sekka, it's like you get a fake minus depending on how many cards you set in the back row. And you actually can't play the game. As long as they can constantly protect the Denko, you lose. Literally, this is Cold Wave non-stop. Anytime you draw a spell, or no, sorry, not spell, but anytime you draw a trap, it's a dead draw. You can't set it anymore.
I agree. I think that Denko is a really powerful card, but I don't think it warrants a hit on the ban list. Just because it can be... It's only 1700, you can beat over it. I mean, with Shadolls you can summon Squamata, you can summon Dragon. In Clipboards, any of their monsters are 1800, they're going to beat over it. I just don't think it's that big of a problem card. You can also preemptively flip your back row, your floodgates, in order to... So that they still...
Active?
Yeah, so they still affect your opponent. And the other thing is, just a small note here, we still have the Megatins that are coming out in September, and I'm pretty sure that Denko Sekka is going to be reprinted in there, so they're probably not going to touch that card on the ban list while it still has the chance to make the Konami a bit of money.
That being said, oftentimes when reprints happen, the card most likely does also get hit.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll get hit till after that Megatin is selling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Crush card when we got a mass production of Crush card. That card was hit 1 week later.
Yeah.
And all right, now towards cards that are moving up to 1. So these are cards getting unbanned. I have Wind Up Carrier, Dark Magician of Chaos, Chaos Emperor Dragon. Hold off your rage for now. Sangan and Harpie. For my one card that I think Konami might test, Harpie's Feather Duster.
Okay, so the first thing to note is that with Dark Magician of Chaos and Chaos Emperor Dragon, these cards both got erratas in the OCG. So we have to wait until we get a reprint of these cards announced, where Konami is actually able to provide us with a new text so that it doesn't confuse too many players.
Yes. Demox main change is it only adds the spell card on its summon at the end phase.
Yeah.
So that's his main change. And Chaos Emperor Dragon, you can't activate any effects after you use
You
Chaos
can't activate anything else the rest
Dragon.
of the term, even before Chaos Emperor Dragon. So significant changes. I don't know if they'll be game breaking or whatnot.
Wind Up Carrier. So my ban list here is based off of bringing back a lot of the other decks and making them more or less playable. Wind Up Carrier with Magician at 1, and there's a lot of other decks that can actually now block OTKs in terms of damage. I think this is not a bad choice. Sangan is a bit too slow right now. With Tour Guide being at 1, you can't just go Tour Guide Sangan, go crazy. And Sangan's a pretty decent card at giving other decks consistency.
Yeah. Personally, I'm okay with Wind Up Carrier and Sangan. I agree. I think that Sangan's way too slow right now, just because it has to go to the graveyard, and
what can it really search for?
What decks honestly right now would even play Sangan if it came off the ban list? I honestly can't think.
Most of the decks I would think of are tier 2.
Yeah, I can't think of anything meta relevant that would play it.
Yeah.
Maybe Burning Abyss, but even then, not really.
I would think it would be a funky tech to put a Tour Guide and a Sangan.
Yeah,
and Tour Guide Sangan in a Satellarknight deck, so that they actually have access to Chaos, and when they get rid of the Sangan, they can get a Deneb to hand. But
maybe.
That's really going off a tangent now.
Yeah.
Harpie's Feather Duster, I don't know. Every single time I make one of these ban lists, I always put one of these crazy cards in, just because. Wait, okay. I know we're not OCG. OCG does have this card at 1, and I think we can kind of start playing, not crazy setting. Crazy setting is I don't know, how often do you like it when your opponent summons almost like a floodgate monster and then puts 5 back row or 4 back row? Now you gotta fight through it. It's very fun fighting through it, but sometimes they just have all the answers and you're stuck because they can overcommit to the board without getting punished.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think Harpie's Feather Duster is a bit of a stretch. Like, personally, I think Heavy Storm should come back before Harpie's Feather Duster, first of all. Because Heavy Storm makes you play smarter as well, right? You can't just set your hand and not be punished for it. Like, if...
Unless you're Clifford's.
Okay, but with Sacrifice at 1, it's not that big of a deal anymore. Okay. Right? So I think that Heavy Storm's going to come off the ban list before Harpie's Feather Duster. But that's just me. If it comes off. Yeah. Alright guys, so semi-limited cards. I actually have a couple of cards that I think should go from 3 to 2, and a few cards that should go from 1 to 2. So first of all, I have... so I'll go through the list first. I have El Shadoll Construct being semi-limited, El Shadoll Fusion, Dimensional Fissure, Book of Moon, and Compulsory Evacuation Device, not Escape Device. So we kind of touched on the Shadoll thing earlier with Construct and El Shadoll Fusion. I don't want to limit El Shadoll Fusion or Construct like they did in the OCG. I think El Shadoll Fusion is very, very fundamental to the deck being played successfully. So I think it should stay at 2, but I think it's just too good of a card not to hit. And my Construct reasoning is very much the same as Tombox's. It facilitates so many different plays in your deck just by letting you dump anything from there. And it's just a really, really good card overall.
Yeah, and it's like it has recurgence if it dies.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
For me, I actually have other semi-limited cards too. One of my matching one would be El Shadoll Fusion. El Shadoll Fusion, like if you can constantly get El Shadoll Fusion in a Shadoll deck, you are more or less very versatile. As long as you're a really good player, you know how to use it, you can play yourself out of a lot of situations. That's why I put that at 2. I don't want to kill it because El Shadoll Fusion is very, very important to the deck. Like, it's unbelievable. If you take away all, like, El Shadoll Fusion, the deck is unplayable. If you put at 1, they have to draw into it or flip a Hedgehog, and that slows the deck down way too much. At least I want to give them a chance to play. I have Hornet going to 2, Inzektor Hornet going to 2. This card, Inzektors, they're really slow right now because if you think about what's hit in the deck, they only have they lost 2 Dragonflies and 2 Hornets. They also don't have Sangan to search these cards anymore. They used to run Tour Guide to get that play, but that's not an option anymore. So the deck is actually very slow. It's not playable. But if you give them a second Hornet, at least they have a chance to get those cards now. Because they actually don't run a lot of monsters in terms of Inzektor archetype monsters in the deck. And giving him an extra Hornet might be just throwing him a bone. For another card, I have Deep Sea Diva. If you hit Nekroz so hard to the point that they can't play anymore, you gotta give them an option of how to work around it. And Deep Sea Diva is a decent way to work around it, allowing them to run certain Gishki cards, Gishki Vision, give them access to Herald of Arclight, not only through Unicore. Because if the Unicore now is much more valuable, you might not always want to make the Kaleidoscope play. That's why the Diva into Gishki Vision to synchro into a Herald of Arclight is an option that I want to kind of re-allow them to have. That's why I'm putting Diva at 2.
Okay. Yeah, so a quick note about the other 3 cards that I have semi-limited. I don't think that Book of Moon or Compulsory Evacuation Device are very big problem cards right now. I think that them being limited was just because they were limited at the same time as a lot of other cards. After that big Dragon Ruler format, when the 2 TCG and OCG split up, they were products of that, I think. Compulsory Evacuation Device isn't that big of a problem. It just returns the card to the hand. It's good against BA, but I mean...
Like, it's... For me, Book of Moon and Compulsory... Book of Moon is... If you give Book of Moon back, it hits... It's an indirect hit to BA. Because Book of Moon, you book their monster, they can't really make their turn out properly.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, they run enemy control or something like that. And the other card, Compulsory, I don't mind it going to 2, but depending on how the format changes, if we go back to a lot of extra deck cards, Compulsory becomes a very free 1-for-1. that
Sure.
that is usually goes off unpunished because going back to the deck often does not trigger any effects.
Right. I also have a set of supers, so I really want those to go up in price, for the record.
Wow, such bias.
Yeah. So the last card that I had semied was Dimensional Fissure. I think Dimensional Fissure is a really good floodgate, just to give rogue decks a chance against decks like Shadoll and Burning Abyss. But I think it's not quite like I wouldn't put Macro Cosmos to 2.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Macro banishes everything, and you flip it during your opponent's turn, like you chain it to a Shadoll fusion or something. It's nuts, right? But Dimensional Fissure, they see it coming, right? So they know that they're gonna have to play around the card, and I think it's a little bit more fair. I think it gives a bit of an edge to Ritual Beasts, maybe some other decks.
I would agree with you on Dimensional Fissures going to 2, just because, like you said, it's much slower.
Right.
They can see it coming. You can't just flip it on them like, oh, I play, I don't know, say Grieving Fiend. I need to put a card back and then mill one into the grave. No. Yeah. You just chain. You can't chain this.
Yeah.
If you chain macro, that's a difference. Just like, oh.
Yeah, chaining macros.
It's like, oh, you're gonna die, and you walk right into it.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So now we're gonna go into a few cards that we think should be unlimited, but are currently semi-limited. So I have 4 cards that I want to see come off the semi-limited list. They are Tragoedia, Sacred Sword of 7 Stars, Legendary Six Samurai Shi En, and Honest. So before you get mad at me about that Honest, let's talk about the first 3. Okay, so Tragoedia. Honestly, I don't know why Tragoedia has been semi-limited for so long. It hasn't done anything even remotely relevant, and I don't think there's a single deck that would even use it right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
Tragoedia is, I don't know what's he doing at 2. Like, he has no impact whatsoever. Yeah, I can change my level, guys. Hey, guys, I can make you trishable. Hey, guys. Where are you going?
Yeah, there's
so good.
There's no reason it should be at 2. Just put it at 3. It's whatever. Secondly, I have Sacred Sword of 7 Stars coming to 3. It was just a casualty of Dragon Rulers, because with the Dragon Rulers it was a +1. But with all the Dragon Rulers banned, it's essentially just a trade-in, but it banishes the level 7 monster from your hand. So.
You can only play 1.
Yeah, and you can only use 1 per turn. So you can't even use it like trade-in abuses Exodia, Blue Eyes in Exodia decks, right? Like,
yeah, that's not possible. This deck, it gets rid of the card. You can't really, because all the E-Dragons are currently banned, unless they're bringing them back. It's
yeah.
Well, I don't know. Then
Dragon Rulers, no.
Then I'll have a different opinion, but my current opinion is, it really is just a bad version of trade-in.
Yeah, it's whatever. The last limited card, or the last semi-limited card that we agreed on, was Legendary Six Samurai Shi En. And I know a lot of Samurai players were really hyped when Six Samurai Shi En went from 1 to 2. They're like, oh, if I get double Shi En out on board, you can't do anything.
Well, and that didn't happen.
Yeah,
hey,
Samurai
guys.
players, what are you guys doing? I haven't seen you guys top anything for like 2 years. I don't know what you're doing.
Wow.
Okay.
BM.
I mean, so you can make Nat Beast. I think Nat Beast is better to go into than Shi En right now, but
in the current meta, yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
Triple Shi En. There's just so many outs to Shi En right now. Like every deck, like if you think of all the top decks, like we can bait like the first negation, and then we can probably bait the second negation, and then if you negate like let's go from top deck down. Nekroz. Oh, you negated me. I'll just banish it, get a new spell, keep going.
Yeah.
If I can get enough spells, you're gonna die anyway. So once my Trish lands, you're dead. Oh, worse yet, I get a Brio. Bounce both of them back.
Yeah, there's that, and it's very, very vulnerable to, like, they don't do anything to stop monster effects. So
yeah,
I mean, most of the most powerful effects in the game right now, I think, are monster effects, and Shi En doesn't do anything to stop them. So
every deck has outs against them, so they can't really do anything.
Yeah. All right, guys. So the last card that I have going from 2 to 3, and I know Tombox disagrees with me here, but personally, I think that Honest should be unlimited. Honestly, I feel like it's not even that bad.
That's because maybe I'm speaking from experience, but I went through the Teledad format with Lightsworn Teledad being the tier 0, tier 1, and triple honest is a very, very disgusting way to lose. You feel terrible losing to triple honest. Like, you have a BLS, they have Illumina. They attack into you. They're like, oh, okay. Honest, okay, 1,000 damage. Second honest, okay, now I'm taking 4,000. Third honest, oh, 7k for game. Whoa! That came out of nowhere. It really sucks to lose to triple honest. And if I was Satellarknights, I would try and take out some of my battle traps for honest, because honest could honestly take care of most of the battling. So it would deter most of my opponents from battling my monsters.
Yeah, I mean, 3 honest is definitely something that's scary, but I mean, first of all, the chances of you having 3 honest at any given time is pretty low.
The only way I would think of doing that is to use honest throughout the game and then flip beckoning light to get all my
but then you'd have to play beckoning light, and I mean that's not,
like you're literally moving towards giving old Lightsworn a chance.
Sure, but I mean, if you're drawing multiple copies of honest, you're winning a battle, right? But unless you're going for game, I don't think you're winning much else. I mean, you're getting rid of the monster that it destroys, but honest itself doesn't
really move towards your victory goals, like setting up your combos.
Yeah, it leaves you open to something like Trish. It's just it's a card that doesn't do anything outside of that very, very specific purpose. And if you're playing against Satellarknights and honest was at 3, and you just run into their monster and you die because of it, then you deserve to lose that game. I mean, smart players are gonna play around honest, and they're gonna use some kind of removal, because honest doesn't offer any sort of inherent negation or protection. It just helps that monster win the battle. So I mean, a smart player is gonna find a way to change the monster's position, or they're gonna just remove it off of the board. I mean, Castell, Direwolf, we have so many different ways that you can clear monsters off the board that I don't think honest is that much of a problem. It's a good card, but it's something that you can play around, and that's where I think.
Well, Nishi puts a good point, and I guess he has his reasons for why honest could go to 3. I personally am still gonna disagree, but that's just me versus
I also have a playset of Ghost Rare First Ed Honest, and they're all in different languages.
Okay, see, now I get it. You just have cards that you want to sell.
No, I'm not selling them, I'm keeping them, but they look nice. I'll pick up Satellarknights just so I can play the 3 honest.
Okay, so we know where the bias is coming from.
Here's the full list of our predictions, and sorry Oscar, I couldn't find your list.
So anyways, I think we have reached the end of this ban list prediction video. If you got anything you want to add, feel free to leave a comment down below.
And make sure that if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up.
And if you want to see more MST.TV content, whether it be live duels or more crazy stuff like this, maybe sketches, don't forget to hit the subscribe.
And until next time, please make sure that you guys hold on to your MSTs.TV.
Honest at 3, what the fuck, Kenny?